I want to buy this property, but I need the seller to take care of some of these things we've discovered during our inspections. What do we do about that? Here's William Smith with the William Smith Lecture Group at Coldwell Banker Realty in Carmel with some answers on what to do with the document known as a request for repairs. So, a typical inspection period is 17 days with the California Association of Realtors Residential Purchase Agreement, the RPA, and the new contract was revised in June 2022, and it has some great features to it. But let's say during the inspection period, you find out that there's some problems with the property that you didn't know about. And let's say that the problems are going to have a total cost to bring up to acceptable health and safety features that are somewhere around $17,000. You've already paid as much as you can afford for the house. You put 20% down, and you're feeling like, well, I couldn't see those items, and the seller didn't even know about those items that popped up during the inspection period. What is it that I can do now to make sure that I can buy this house and afford it and have it be safe for my family? So there is a form called the request for repairs. So that document, if during the time frame of the inspection period, let's say it's 17 days, and let's say that we're communicating with the seller and the reports that we've gotten, in addition to the reports that the seller has gotten, all of a sudden turn up some of these items. And of course, the buyer, as they get the reports by contract, are to give them to the seller, and then the seller has a good idea of what to expect when it comes time to negotiate a request for repair should one appear prior to the contingencies being removed. So with the older inventory that we have on the Monterey Peninsula, in Pacific Grove, Carmel, Pebble Beach, Carmel Valley, Seaside Marina, we have some old inventory that have some hidden costs that show up during the inspection period. The reason you have a 17-day inspection period is so that you can get the information that you need to determine if there are some problems with this property. So the request for repairs is organized in such a way that the buyer says, we'll buy this house if the seller does this list of repairs. Or alternatively, you say, we'll buy this house if you lower the price by the amount of X amount of dollars so that we can afford the property. Or let's say that we're financing it and we don't want to be in a situation where the price is lower, but we want a credit for those repairs. There are limits, and lenders have a say on what can be credited back. And it's best to make sure that you check with your loan officer to find out how the credits should be handled on the seller estimated and the buyer estimated closing statements. So once you get the guidance from your loan officer and you get an understanding of what you're going to do, you agree on either a discount, a credit, or actual repairs in this request for repairs. And that's buyer hands that to the seller, and attached to it is a contingency removal, a CR form, a contingency removal form that allows the seller to say yes to that. And then by saying yes, they know the inspection contingencies are now removed and they don't have to worry about being nickeled and dimed later for more contingencies. So what happens then? Well, the seller is selling it as is. We've talked about item 10A and 10B in a previous discussion on one of our videos, but the seller has the right to say no to any request for repairs because this is an as-is sale. Well, what happens then is that the seller has to decide, are we going to do the repairs? Are we going to say yes to their request of the credit or the discount. And if the seller says, no, we sold it as is, it's an old house, it's not a new house, we feel like we can replace the buyer and not have to replace the items on the list. Now, that's a strong argument when it's a largely seller's market, when you have buyers that would accept any condition just because they've missed out on 3 houses before. But we're changing to a more normal market right now, and probably will have a balanced inventory, enough buyers and sellers, so that you're not getting this big rush on either side for having to compete with another buyer to get the property. So the buyers aren't going to be as motivated to accept some of these items that you're talking about. All right, well, now we counter back with, we're going to allow a credit of $5,000, not $17,000, as this example is using. And the rest of it's up to you, Mr. Buyer, because we've got $5,000 cushion that we can do, but we're not going to give any more than that. So now you put that back into the hands of the buyer. Well, the buyer says, oh my God, we've got to come up now with another $12,000. We love this house, it's the right school district, it's the right everything. All right, we'll do it. So they sign it and it's done. Well, what if they don't sign it? What if they say, no, we'll do it, but we want you to split the difference? And that comes to $8,500. Well, there's another form called the seller's response to the request for repairs, and that is an RRRR form. These initials, they're amazing. Anyway, so now you get another document, and the seller responds to the buyer's response on the first form, and then the seller gives that to the buyer. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this instead, whatever it is. Let's say that they're stuck on $6,000. It seems silly to use such small numbers on this, but it gets to the point. All right, so now the buyer says, okay, we'll do the $6,000 and we're done. But if they don't, they can either accept it or reject it. And if they reject it, then you go back, and now you have the second go round, and that's called the RR, and then you put number 2. So that's the second request for repairs, and you start over again. So there is a way to negotiate this. Oftentimes it's done with a discount, it's done with a credit, or it's done with the actual repairs being done. I'm just going to say my opinion: don't let a deal fall apart for $17,000. But sometimes a lot more than that. And also it is a way for a buyer to get out of a contract, or if a seller wants out of the contract, it's one of the few ways that a seller can get out of the contract, by letting the negotiations die. So there are some extenuating circumstances there that you'll want to strategize with your buyer agent or your listing agent and come up with a best case scenario for your situation. But the way the contract works is that after the inspection period, the buyer does have the right to come up with solutions to items that they may not have otherwise known about, except for the fact that it turned up during inspections. I also warn you, as buyers, don't use the request for repairs as a way to renegotiate a contract that you've already negotiated, because that's being done in bad faith, and that runs into a whole nother set of problems, which cause buyers and sellers not to happily engage in a good conversation. So if you like what you see, let us know. Give us more information, questions you have in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you. And thank you for being part of our YouTube channel. Thank you.